Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Haolonggood release, and this might be one of their most anticipated so far. I know many people are very excited about this one, of course, myself included. We've got the 1/35th scale Stegosaurus, and as you can see here on the front of the packaging, there are 3 different paint variants for this release, and I've actually got all 3, so we get to look at all of them. Of course, the box art looks like it's the same for each and every figure, so we don't need to go over each box, but you can see, again, the front of the boxes here showing off the different paint variants. Of course, the species name and the Haolonggood logo. Up here on the top, you can see some really cool images of other figures that are in this line. Again, we've reviewed all of them already, so some really cool stuff that you can check out here on the channel if you are interested in seeing reviews of any of these other figures. Make sure you check out my playlist here for Haolonggood on the channel. And then again, you're going to see the same thing as far as the images go on both sides. So let's pop the boxes open and check them out. So we've got variant number 1. We have variant number 2, and the one that I think I was most excited about, variant number 3, and I think I need to readjust them a little bit because they're not perfectly placed. Now I went too far with that one. There we go, I think that'll do. And you can see, again, all 3 of them actually look fantastic, and something that I think I'm realizing at this point in time is the fact that the colors aren't quite as vibrant as they looked initially on the prototype images, which was the one reason why I wasn't the biggest fan of this color variant, but at the same time I did like it. But the colors initially looked really bright on that, and I felt like it looked a little unrealistic because of that. However, now actually having it here, I think the colors look way better because they're dulled down and they're much more naturalistic looking on that. And honestly, each and every one of these are fantastic. Like, there is no wrong direction when it comes to these Stegosaurs. All of them feature beautiful paint schemes and paint applications from what I can see. But of course, the only way to truly tell is with a closer look, so let's jump to it right now. So we'll begin with what I would say is probably my favorite of the group, and that is the greenish one. If you know me, you know, if you've seen previous Stegosaur reviews here on my channel, that I love green Stegosaurus. So of course, I'm instantly going to be drawn to this one. But if you get nice and close, you can see the head sculpt looks really good. You've got a nicely sculpted beak. I like that the beak is painted with a darker tone, but also has a little bit of a satin shine to it. We can see the nostrils sculpted out there, very nice looking skin texture. We've got some darker tones there in the face, and then a little bit of a lighter tone for the lower jaw. Really nice dark wash applied to the figures as well. The eye is just a straight up black eye, which has a very nice gloss coat on it, but that's a little different compared to normal Haolonggood because we almost always get those blue eyes. So I actually am a big fan of the fact that we have black eyes for this. Just a little bit of a, breath of fresh air as far as that goes, just switching it up a bit. You can see again some really nice looking, there we go, scale detail up here on the top of the head, a little bit of a lighter tone, a nice dark wash again at play up there, and you can see the scale detail of the throat looks really good. We've got kind of like larger scales moving down through the course of the throat. The head of the Stegosaurus is kind of leaning up just a little bit, and you can also see it has a slight turn to it and a slight tilt toward its left. We've got the plates up here on the back of the neck beginning to pick up here, and again, they also sport really nice variation of color. The dark wash really brings the detail out. You can also see almost like some slight reddish tones in there as well, but you also have some darker tones kind of patterning down here in the neck, the upper part of the neck of the Stegosaurus. Again, the scale detail continues to look really nice. If my camera would focus on it, there you go. You can see some wrinkling, increasing in skin folds and stuff in the neck as the dinosaur again has its head turned toward its left. As you continue to move through the body, you do see some osteoderms picking up, and you see this very cool, really subtle patterning through the dinosaur. You can see how we basically have like a black or a very dark gray that sort of just kind of squiggles and patterns through every area of the body here, pretty much anyway, of the Stegosaurus moving through, and it looks super nice. That honestly might be some of my favorite paintwork I've ever seen from Haolonggood, which is really saying something considering how impressive their paint jobs always are. As you move down, you can see the shoulder blade there protruding from the skin, leading down through the course of the leg. You can see how vibrant the skin texture looks on this. The scale detail absolutely pops, and again, there's a lot of it. You can see the elbow here on the back of the leg, light brownish tone tones, and then we transition to almost like a purplish brown. You can see the nails are painted out with a nice glossy black. And then you move back up, you can see some folds here in the skin of the stomach as this leg is pushing into the stomach right there. Again, the scale detail looks really, really good. Moving up, you can see the hip bone here, and again, more osteoderms all over the place here, moving through the course of the figure. Nice muscle definition, as well as a good bit of skin wrinkling and folding here, coming from the back of the thigh. Very smooth transition to that lighter tone from the greenish tone, and you can continue to see again those darker tones really, really nice and very subtly patterning through the course of the leg. You've got the kneecap here in the front of the leg, nice big bulging calf in the back, and again the same style of coloration moving down into the foot. You can see the glossy black used again for the nails. The toes look really good. You can see the ankle and everything moving down. And then we lead up. We've got a few more skin wrinkles back here behind the thigh, and the patterning, rather than kind of giving us that squiggly sort of look, at this point sort of turns into almost like a striping effect, but it's not like a really consistent striping. It's just kind of like sporadically placed, which I really like as well. And as you move down, you can again see how smooth that transition is to the underside of the dinosaur, and also the dark wash continuing to highlight all of the detail. You move out, you can see the thagomizers as well are sculpted really nicely, and also start out with a darker tone and transition to a good bit of a lighter tone as you move out there toward the tips of the thagomizers. You can also see a brown here for the end of the tail. And then as you move through the plates, again, they look really good, and that dark wash has done a phenomenal job of highlighting all of the detail in the plates, and also just adding a very nice, very impressive element of realism to the overall appearance of the Stegosaurus. You can see how nicely applied all of the paintwork is, again, moving through the course of the plates. If you look up here in the back, you can see kind of like some scoop-like scales that sort of circle around each and every plate as well. And moving along the center of the dinosaur here, you can continue to see how nice the paintwork looks even on the insides of the plates. If we take a look at the opposing side, now the head is turned away from us, of course. You can see the same type of paintwork and everything for the face. You can also see the ear sculpted out back here, and then as you move down, you can see all of the skin detail again moving through the course of the neck. As you lead through here into the body, you can see how the legs are kind of spread further apart, more so than what we saw on the other side, which again, that is shown off very nicely when it comes to the skin detail, where you see the skin stretching and again creasing here back behind the front leg. Same again type of paintwork moving down as we transition through the various tones of color moving down through the course of the legs. You can see the muscle definition, the elbow, very, very impressive skin detail again with slight skin folds and rolls and stuff. You've got the nails again painted, and again same deal as far as the opposing leg, as you can see all sorts of tensing through the course of the rear leg here moving, and you can see how this foot is picking up off of the ground as the toes are leaving the ground, so you can see how the leg is tensing really nicely while it's doing that. And again, we move out through the length of the tail, which looks really, really good. Again, we've got the plates up here looking absolutely phenomenal, and the detail on the underside also looks really nice, and we even have some slight variation of color, as you can see, almost like some slight like orangish tones showing up down here. You can see the cloaca present here, and again the scale detail looks really, really good. You've got more of that dark wash again showing up down here on the underside of the Stegosaurus as well. So honestly, this is probably my favorite Stegosaurus that I now have in my collection. When it comes to a figure like this type of figure, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. And of course, each and every one of these figures are all the same sculpt, so we no longer need to go over the sculpt itself and just look at the paint apps, because that's the only thing that would differ from, the other ones. And you can see this one has a lighter tone in the face. The beak does have a little bit of a darker tone, but for the most part kind of remains a little bit of a lighter tone. You can see the dark wash has really highlighted the nostrils right there, though. We have like a dark pinkish sort of a tone there, or like a purplish tone around the eye. Again, the eye painted with that nice glossy black. We've got the lighter tone moving down along the underside of the Stegosaurus, and this one has some beautiful blues, as Haolonggood is very clearly a fan of bluish tones on their dinosaurs, and they somehow always make it work, and they make it work really nicely. As you move through the plates, these plates have a little bit more patterning to them, because you can kind of see like some squiggles added to some of the plates. We have some nice reddish tones, and they transition to a beautiful yellow as you lead out there toward the tips of the plates. Yet again, they have the dark wash applied, so it helps to give the dinosaur, you know, that kind of dirty, weathered sort of a look. And again, that all looks really good. As you move down, you have, instead of like those darker kind of tones patterning through, you have lighter tones on this one. And look at how smooth and naturalistic they look. You know, I could very easily and very clearly see something like this looking very much so like paint on a figure, but Haolonggood's paint jobs are always so top-notch that that patterning looks as naturalistic as it gets, and those blues continue to look really good. And you can even see a little variation to the blues, because we've kind of like a bluish green almost down here, and transitions to a little bit of a darker tone as you move up. But the blue appearance on this looks great. You can also see some nice variations of like brownish tones showing up in the areas where we transition to the lighter underbelly of the dinosaur, almost like orangish browns. And just like the other one, we transition to that kind of darker, almost like a purplish brown tone for the feet. Again, the nails are painted with a nice glossy black, and we have pretty much the same thing as the other one moving out here into the tail. As you can see, rather than the darker patterning, we have the lighter patterning that kind of transitions to a sort of striping effect moving out. And again, the lighter tones of the underside with these slight orangish browns picking up. You can even see a little bit of that in the cloaca right there. And then again, the plates continue to have that same coloration with, you know, some of the plates having that sort of squiggly stripe moving through, some not. And again, the same thing over here, which looks, again, just as beautiful as it did on the initial side. Haolonggood honestly have really outdone themselves with this Stegosaurus release. Every single one of these look absolutely gorgeous, and that bluish one is definitely a contender for the best of the group. And then we've got the final paint variant, and again, I would say this one's probably the flashiest of all, but still looking really natural. You can see we've got like some reddish sort of tones, or like almost like red mixed with purplish tones in the face. You've got a little bit of a lighter tone right there. You have a darkening again on the beak. Nice black eye again with the gloss coat added to it. You've got the dark wash again at play, highlighting all of the detail. Moving into the plates, you can see the plates sport kind of like some orangish tones and then blues as you lead out toward the tips, which looks super, super cool on the figure. You also again have a darker patterning moving through, similar to what we saw in the green Stegosaurus, the first green version. And as you move down, you can see that we have a really vibrant greenish tone on this one. Rather than the darker green we had on the first Stegosaurus, we have a much lighter green on this one, and you can see the patterning continues to run down in similar fashion, but a lot more subtle, I would say. It's a lot lighter as far as the application of that patterning goes. The best area where you can see it is right up here above the hip region. You can again see the kind of like reddish tones, orangish tones, and bluish tones moving through the plates. Again, that dark wash continuing to highlight all of the detail and really weather those plates nicely. As you move down, we kind of again have that same similar sort of paintwork where we transition to the darker tones for the feet. Again, the nice glossy black for the nails, lighter tones moving along the back of the leg and down into the stomach region. But you can also see, though, as we transition back, we change from that green to kind of almost like a pinkish sort of a tone for the rear part of the dinosaur, and that is something that is different on this one compared to any of the others. None of the others do that, and you can see again when the prototype images had come out, I felt like that tone was just a little bit too bright for me, but in person it is so picture perfect and just looks extremely natural. We still have more of that patterning, but it's again really subtle and kind of like sporadically placed, more so than the others. The dark wash looks really good, even moving down into this area. It just adds so much, I would say, depth to the paint job and skin tone of the dinosaur. And again, everything looks really, really nice as you move out into the tail. You continue to have that greenish tone moving along the top, and then the kind of like pinkish tone moving along the side, and the lighter tone of the underside of the dinosaur as we lead out here into the thagomizers. And you can see like some greenish tones even applied to those thagomizers. And we continue to have again those blues and oranges, and even the very dark, almost like reddish or purplish tones moving along the course of the plates up there. And you can see even some greens showing up here on the underside of the stomach of the Stegosaurus moving through. And of course you're going to see the same thing on the other side, again just showing how absolutely gorgeous this Stegosaurus is from every single angle. So all three of these, if you ask me, are a home run. As far as the size goes, for a length from the snout to the last thagomizer, I would say about 10 inches, maybe a little bit over, or around the 25.5 heading toward 26 centimeters, but not quite there. And then for a height, the highest point would be this plate here, and it's just shy of 5 inches, or right around 12.5 centimeters for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Haolonggood Stegosaurus, and you can see it does sport a pretty darn nice size, definitely quite large overall. For another comparison to further show you that, we've got the Mojo Fun Stegosaurus, which you can see is quite a bit smaller than our Haolonggood version. We also have the Bullyland version, which you can see is pretty much spot on as far as the size goes. Pretty much the exact same size as the Haolonggood version. So if you do have the Bullyland version, that one would, stand very nicely next to the Haolonggood version, but also again give you a really good idea of the size. As well as the TS Toys Stegosaurus, which you can see is a little bit smaller. We also have the PNSO Stegosaurus, which you can see is definitely a little bit smaller than our Haolonggood version. As well as the Rebor Stegosaurus, which you can see is maybe slightly bigger than our Haolonggood version. And then for a few random Haolonggood comparisons, we have their Nasutoceratops next to the Stegosaurus, as well as their Oranosaurus, again showing you that the Stego is definitely one of their larger releases. And then one final comparison with the Haolonggood Allosaurus next to the Stegosaurus, and I would think that this is definitely the one comparison as far as Haolonggood figures go that you would probably want to see, especially again next to the Stegosaurus. You would really want to see the Allosaurus as well. So this brand new trio of Haolonggood Stegosaurus are all absolutely fantastic, each and every one. I honestly can't even begin to choose at this point. At first I thought for sure it would be the green Stegosaurus, but now having all three variants here in hand, looking at all three, it's such an impossible decision. They're just all so beautiful. Every single one sports a really nice color scheme that has a nice element of flashiness to it, but still somehow all are applied in a really natural way. And even the one that I was expecting to be the flashiest and most unnatural of all somehow turned out to be extremely natural, and probably one of, if not my favorites, here out of all three. Again, every single one of these are perfectly painted, if you ask me, to show you that dinosaurs can look flashy, but still, again, looking like this could really be the colors of the dinosaur. And they've done a great job of applying all of the different tones of color, really nice smooth transitions, absolutely perfect patterning moving throughout, really smooth natural application as far as that goes. And of course, including the dark wash is always something that I feel like adds another level of realism for any dinosaur model. On top of that, you also have a gorgeous sculpt. I think the Stegosaurus sculpt looks beautiful. You've got really, really impressive skin detail, all sorts of folds and stretching of the skin, all kinds of really nice variation to the scale, detail. Pretty much every ounce of detail that you would expect and want to find on a Stegosaurus model is found on the Haolonggood version, as well as a nice natural kind of walking pose. Nothing overly flashy, but also again looks really good. And having all three of them together, they just look great next to each other. They look like an awesome kind of group, like a herd of Stegosaurus just kind of moving along. So to say that I recommend grabbing these, or at the very least one, but I would say all three, would be an understatement. These are gorgeous, gorgeous Stegosaurus. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab these right now from Lana Time Shop. So make sure you check that link, go grab these Stegosaurus, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.